Hello everyone and welcome. Wow, it's been another 4 weeks and here I am. Or technically, I know this video is a tad late, but I've just been busy with a combination of personal and I've just been feeling kind of off, so that's why it hasn't gotten done yet, but here I am to do it now. Also, if you notice that the lighting is a tad off, my ceiling light is out. I haven't gotten around to fixing it yet because I'm lazy. So the only real illumination that's kind of balancing things out is my set light that's behind the camera. So if you notice it's a tad off, that's the reason why. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about another month of changes. Yeah, it's been another 4 weeks already. Time's just whizzing by like that. But, I've been pretty busy with just stuff here and there. But yeah, let me just get right into starting with the emotional stuff. So starting with the emotional stuff. Nothing's really changed that much. For me, it's just kind of been business as usual. My mood has just kind of been all over the place, just with some personal stuff, some work-related stuff, and just everything in between. Just going through a couple of different things. My mood's just sort of been all over. It kind of went from, just to like, oh, like kind of really bad, like, kind of just like very kind of downer and very concerning to like, oh no, I'm feeling great again. And part of that is because of a big change at my workplace. I have finally socially transitioned into my workplace after being there for over 2 years now. My current job for over 2 years now. I have decided to finally make the change to socially transition in the workplace now that I feel more comfortable with myself and my transition. I decided to make that change in my job, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. It's just been a bit of a social change for myself as well as my coworkers and the parents of the kids that I care for in my everyday life at my job. So it's just been kind of dealing with like the mixed emotions that kind of come with a change like that, because without getting too much into it, definitely wasn't. I definitely had my concerns. I definitely had a lot of different stuff cycling through my head, and now that is done and everything, I am definitely just kind of feeling more comfortable and like myself again, and not like in a straight, like in a drastically different way or anything. It's just more like I just feel fine knowing that that's addressed, that's done, that everything is just back to business as usual. I'm just now going by my preferred name, pronouns, all that fun jazz. So it's definitely I'm very great and ecstatic for that, but I'm not here to talk about that. I actually do plan to talk about that in a separate video of its own, but I did feel it was relevant to mention here, given, relevant to my mental and emotional state. So that really tied into it, and as a kind of result of making that change, I've definitely been more myself and more expressive at work, because usually, before making that change, I used to be very suppressive. I used to, it's not like I had like a completely like a huge switch. It's just how I dressed and how I talked before I socially transitioned. But other than that, I was still me. It's just I kind of had to suppress just how expressive that I was, and just kind of had to hide a lot of those more, I guess you could say, feminine qualities that have sort of just that I have and have sort of developed within me as I've been going about my transition, and just doing everything in my darndest to act as androgynous and still yet masculine as I could. So now that I'm not doing those things anymore, I'm definitely feeling a lot more expressive. I'm feeling a lot more like myself, more comfortable, more energetic, and definitely a heck of a lot more emotional and maternal, given that I work with kids, and also given that I'm try to be a bit of an emotional support and just all around optimistic, upbeat person at my job. Despite how much of a mixed bag and Debbie Downer that I can be sometimes, I always try to be, very optimistic and energetic to the people around me. And I feel like I've got that back tenfold, and I feel absolutely amazing with that. So my mood is so nothing's really changed drastically that much, but I'm definitely feeling a lot more happier, and I'm definitely feeling a lot more just expressive, and like I don't really have to contain or suppress anything anymore. I can just be myself without restraint, and I love it. But moving on to the more physical stuff. So physically, actually I did notice a handful of small changes here and there. Kind of starting with the simple stuff. Hair is still about the same, even though it looks slightly different. Hair's still about the same. I just had it relaxed and styled and stuff over the weekend, so there's that. As for my body hair, I did notice that the growth rate has not only slowed down just a tiny a hair a bit, but I've also noticed that the hairs themselves have gotten a lot more smoother and less coarse than before. So now, whenever I do, shave and everything like that, it's even. I mean, it never really was. It hasn't really been a hassle for the last several months, but it's definitely become a little bit more, I guess, of an even easier task somehow, if that's even possible, because the hairs are much more softer, thinner, and just less coarse than before, and that's definitely something that stood out to me. I've definitely noticed that my arms and my legs have definitely gotten a little bit more thin, slightly thinner, and a little bit more in feminine proportion. Um, mm, not really not sure how to like what else to say from there other than like yeah, it is what it is. As for the rest of my body, didn't really notice too much stuff that was different. My posterior, my backside definitely feels a little bit more, definitely looks and feels a bit more round and firmer, if you will. I've never really known how to like explain the changes there because that's just like a weird thing. Like, oh, I'm just gonna talk about how my backside is developed in tandem with everything else. But that's something else that I've noticed. I've definitely noticed that my chest has gotten definitely gotten a lot more fuller and firmer as well. Um, Now that it's like there's definitely a way it's as not really how to describe that as well, but there's definitely kind of like a weight to just like every step that I take and just moving and everything, so much so that I do have to wear bras more often to help support my chest, especially when I'm at work, when I'm moving around constantly. So that's definitely something. So my chest has definitely grown to the extent that I now need to, think and do that and do that in my everyday life now. So there's that. And maybe it's just me, but I've definitely noticed that my skin is definitely slightly smoother. It's kind of hard to tell in my hands since they're somewhat dry because of how many times I have to wash them a day at my job because I work with kids. But I definitely can tell like the rest of it has definitely gotten slightly more smoother, maybe even a tad lighter as well. Um, and even my face has a little bit more of like not so much. I don't think it's gotten even like a little bit more rounder or kind of a little bit more fatter because of the redistribution. But it definitely, I feel like I have a bit more of a glow. Like my skin's definitely gotten a bit lighter, and there's definitely a bit more of a livelier glow to it. Maybe that could just be the fact that I'm no that I've fully transitioned socially pretty much everywhere, and and me getting to be myself 100% of the time. I guess I just kind of rejuvenated me a little bit, and I definitely have a little bit more of a liveliness to me. My eyes are still dark as hell because of my dark circles because I'm an insomniac and I don't sleep very much, but that's unrelated. So there's that. Uh, but all around, that's really the gist of it. That's really kind of the changes that I've experienced the past 4 weeks is just kind of those more subtle ones, little changes to the body, little changes to the little details with the body, such as body hair and additional growth and I guess shaping of my chest, my backside, and I guess just my arms and my legs. Not didn't really notice anything with my torso, uh, aside from my chest, obviously. And aside from that, that's really been the gist of it. So nothing really huge, like nothing really big or game changing, but definitely, not too subtle enough that I didn't notice anything. So after about the last 2 months of no real developments, definitely some changes have occurred. So maybe now that I'm eased into my new dosage, that I'm now revved up for another set of those changes over possibly the course of the last remainder of this 6 month period before I move on to the second half of my second year. So who knows? We'll, it's a day at a time and get there eventually. But that's really the gist of it. So yeah, that's really it. So as I mentioned before, I do plan on making a full video explaining my social transition and what it was like living part-time. Part of what I said at the beginning of this year is I definitely wanted to motion towards creating different content on this channel aside from just the HRT updates. So though I will keep those going, excuse me, I do that is kind of my going to be a bit of my start into motioning into creating a little bit more different and diverse content. So my goal is to get that done within the coming weeks after I get this done and uploaded. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that little update in there that after all this time, I am finally going to be motioning towards creating different stuff. So hope you all can look forward to having a little bit more insight and perspective through that. But anyway, that is all for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and take care.